Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Western art will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm BJ Williams. Larry Lynn Peterson will be telling us about his book, Philip R. Goodwin's America's Sporting and Wildlife Artist. Susie Beasley will talk with Phil Taubert. Kids Corner will feature Ronna Davis. We also have Doug Benton, Evelyn Davis, and Ursula Ward. Coming up, Dr. Peterson.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, BJ Williams.
Dr. Larry Lynn Peterson is a native of Montana. He now lives in Oregon, but he also collects Western art. He has collected a lot of art by Charles M. Russell and a number of his friends. He has written several books. One of them, Charles M. Russell, Legacy, Printed and Published Works of Montana's Cowboy Artist, won the Wrangler Award for Best Art Book in April of 2000 from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. Just this last April, he also won the Wrangler Award for Philip R. Goodwin, America's Sporting and Wildlife Artist, which is the book that he'll be talking about in this interview. I was fortunate enough to attend the Wrangler Awards, and I think you'll enjoy what Dr. Peterson had to say about putting this kind of book together. Okay, Larry, what inspired you to write a book about Philip Godwin?
Well, I had the good fortune of growing up in Montana, and my dad had a hardware store. And when I was a young boy, the store was filled with calendars with Charlie Russell and Philip R. Goodwin art on it. Goodwin did a lot of illustration work for fishing and rifle companies, and my father sold that material, so I kind of grew up with his art, loved it from an early age.
Okay, so it was just a natural procession from I like this to I want to know more about this man and
exactly.
How he did it.
I first started my book I did on Charlie Russell's, Charles M. Russell Legacy, that came out a couple of years ago. I really learned more about Goodwin through Russell. They had a really close friendship. In fact, Goodwin affected Russell's art probably more than any other artist. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started at that point and got interested in this man that affected the greatest American Western artist, Charlie Russell.
Mm-hmm. So you already had done a fair amount of research when you said, I think I'll write this book about Goodwin, but I'm assuming that you still had some research to do.
Well, I had a lot of research to do, and it took me all over the country. I do photograph my own books, and so I went to homes and photographed collections, and I ran into several folks that really helped me, a fellow named John Murphy and Neil Snyder that had been collecting Goodwin art for many, many years, and they really helped me understand more about Goodwin and also put me in the direction of other Goodwin collectors. It seems like one Goodwin collector knows many others, and it really helped.
So it was just a sort of an expanding wave, really.
Exactly.
Like. Now, I'm assuming that there haven't been any biographies written by Goodwin, so you were sort of doing initial research, weren't you?
That's true. There, right here in Oklahoma City, there was an article done back in the 1970s by Patricia Johnson from Minnesota on Philip R. Goodwin, and it was really the first publication on Goodwin since he died in 1935, and it spurred several other folks, like Sporting Classics and other magazines, to write articles on him, but there'd never been a book on him, and the articles were pretty superficial.
Well, magazine articles really can't get into it very much, I would assume. And this book also has, besides photos of his paintings and some of his illustrations, I noticed there are a number of illustrated letters and postcards and that sort of thing. So I'm assuming that somebody is collecting the memorabilia as well as the art.
Yeah, one of the really fun things that I like to collect and write books on is the memorabilia, from calendars to postcards to illustrated letters. And those sort of things are hard to find in museums. That's why you have to get out and visit homes where people collect that sort of material.
Now, you had told me earlier that there's actually very little in the way of original Goodwin work left, mostly because he was an illustrator, and that throws a fascinating light on the way illustrators were viewed when he was working.
In his lifetime, illustration work was not regarded as high fine art, and a lot of the illustration work that ended up at publication companies after years of sitting in dusty bins were then thrown out. And there's many stories of that, not only with Goodwin, but many of the other great illustrators. And what it's done is driven the price up on the remaining Goodwin oils, so that a very nice Goodwin oil might go for $75,000 to $100,000 now.
Oh my, that's...
In fact, last summer at the Coeur d'Alene Art Auction, several of them did go that high. And there's the story of a woman up in Michigan that had a Goodwin, original Goodwin. She didn't know about it, and she had it in a yard sale for $5, and no one would buy it.
Oh,
and
dear.
then she put it in the Coeur d'Alene Art Auction, and it sold for $75,000.
I bet she was one happy lady.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Well, now, some companies apparently hung on to the art and thought well of it, because I noticed there was one, the bear with the cream of wheat thing. You said that Nabisco had donated a number of good ones.
Yes, Nabisco did a series using Goodwin and N.C. Wyeth and other illustrators, and Nabisco kept all of that work. A lot of it's in the Minneapolis Institute of Art now. Other companies like Winchester, Goodwin did a lot of work for Winchester, and all the major oils are now in the Buffalo Bill Historic Center in Cody. And some of his finest work was done for Winchester. The famous horse and rider logo that was painted for Winchester in 1919 has been really the most probably enduring product logo in American history. Still, you can probably find that painting or image in almost every town in the United States.
So he was really very influential, even though most of us wouldn't know who he was.
That's true. He affected Russell's art. He affected Carl Rungus, the great wildlife painter. He affected a lot of the great painters. In his day, he was highly regarded, but fame is often fickle, and for many famous artists and other folks, sports figures, time is not as kind to them as others.
Well, I have noticed that, I guess, art, just like poetry or anything like that, seems to ebb and flow. John Dryden is popular in one century, and the next century nobody wants to even read his stuff, and I think it is often the same way, even with somebody like Leonardo da Vinci. You know, one generation thinks more highly of him than another, and so it's interesting that Goodwin is starting to come back again. He was popular, forgotten, and now interest. It's
part of the, I think, revival of Americana. Another example is Norman Rockwell, who was scoffed at for so many years, and he's become very popular again. And interestingly, Norman Rockwell was a high school student in the town where Philip R. Goodwin had his studio, and Rockwell used to come over after school, and Goodwin would help him with his art. So there's a wonderful connection there, too.
So his influence was really very far-reaching in that regard.
It was, and he made the careers get off the grounds for many people. Jack London's Call of the Wild was probably one of the most famous books of the last century, and made London the first millionaire author in American history, and the most popular author since Mark Twain. And Philip R. Goodwin illustrated it.
Right. I was looking through the book and seeing some of the illustrations for some of those books, and saying, I've read that book. Not with those illustrations in it, but some of the books are still enduring. And he did a lot of work for Teddy Roosevelt's books too, didn't he?
Yes, Teddy Roosevelt had him illustrate his African Game Trails book that was published in 1910. And it really put Goodwin at the forefront of wildlife artists, having the ex-president and probably one of the most famous people in the world choose him to do his work on that book.
I found it intriguing that he went to the Bronx Zoo to study the animals in order to do that. He didn't get a trip to Africa out of it.
No, he had to stay back and do work, and but it's amazing how well he did with the limited sources and subjects he had here in the United States.
And I appreciate in the book the way you sort of bring out, I think, both through talking about what he did and also through his own letters, the way he had to work with the people who employed him. There was the famous line, I remember, that if you see a cowboy with a red shirt, it's because the man paying for it wants the red shirt.
He was definitely under the control of the publishers, and during the Depression it even became more of a problem because he had very few jobs and relied on them, so they had complete control of the subject matter.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I hope everybody will get a chance to look at your book. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Remember, you can find Dr. Peterson's book about Philip Goodwin at your local bookstore and your favorite library. Coming up next, we have Susie Beasley talking with Phil Taubert. He has a video that I think most teenagers will really enjoy.
Phil, what is this video about? Britney Spears live from Las Vegas.
Well, this is one very energy-packed video. Let me tell you, 90 minutes filled with energy and excitement from the very beginning. I didn't know much about Britney Spears before I watched this video, but it is really incredible. It contains 15 of her greatest hits, and all of those are tied in with cinematography, choreography, costumes. I mean, it's just incredible. It's filmed in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and the place is filled with people, just packed. I even saw Elvis.
You saw Elvis. He hadn't left the building, huh?
He has not left the building.
So this video is pretty fast-paced.
Thoroughly. I mean, everything from bungee jumping from up in the ceiling all the way to... There is a quiet moment, though, I must say. She takes the time to pay a tribute to the armed forces, the Marines, the Navy, or Air Force, Army, and all their work in dealing with the 9/11 crisis that we had to deal with here. This was done in November of 2001, so she had to took a few moments to reflect upon that and just say how much she loves the country, also how much she loves what she's doing as an entertainer too.
Right. So give me some idea about the special features in this video.
Cinematography, wonderful costuming, lots of imagination. In fact, the whole thing is presented as though it were a dream that she were having, and that way you kind of get the idea, I'm having a dream, and all of these magical kinds of things can happen. Lighting all over the place, and fireworks in the studio. I mean, it's just...
So it's pretty top-notch.
It really is. It's just crowded with people and lots of action all the way through from start to finish.
So, to you, what makes this video special?
Well, I think it has a special appeal to young people, teenagers, and that age group. And our library system right now is starting a lot of outreach programs to that age group. And for the summer, we're going to have some special summer reading programs, and we're going to give tickets away as one of the things for people who finish their... And have a drawing for those tickets for the concert that she's having.
So now you mentioned this video, and it is very, very popular. I think we have several copies of it.
Yes.
What else do we have with Britney Spears?
We've got CDs all over the place, all of her hits and all kinds of things, probably some biographical information as well, yes.
Yeah, she's had about 3, I think, multi-platinum albums and CDs and stuff. Well, Phil, we really appreciate you coming and sharing with us. Britney Spears, live from Las Vegas. This was put together by Cream Cheese Film Production, HBO, Jive Records, and also, I believe it was Zuma Video.
Yes.
This is available at your local library and perhaps your local video store. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie and Phil. After a short break, I'll be back to tell you about some books I found quite exciting.
We are more than 300 strong. We are diverse from all walks of life. We are musicians. We are teachers. We are computer experts and business leaders, each with the same goal, to meet the information needs of the people of Oklahoma County. We are the librarians of the Metropolitan Library System. How can we help you?
mention the Wall Street Journal to most people and they sort of roll their eyes. If they're like me, they really don't understand most of what is being written about in the Wall Street Journal. They know it's important, they know it's about business, and that's about as far as they get with it. But having subscribed to the Journal at one time for a couple of years, I found there is one thing that you can count on enjoying every time you get an issue of the Wall Street Journal, and it is the middle column. And actually in Wall Street Journal parlance, they refer to it as the A-head. The editor of the front page, Ken Wells, who is a 20-year veteran of the Wall Street Journal, has put together a book called Floating Off the Page, and it is a collection of those columns. Now, you can encounter some really strange things in that middle column. There are Southern lunatics running around loose. There are people doing lawnmower racing and arranging races between both the English and the French groups about it. There are stories about how sexy women find their local UPS driver, and how some of them even shop so that the UPS driver can deliver packages to them. There are feuding nudists, dueling translators of the Bible into Klingon. I kid you not, I remember reading the article about the fact that there are two groups, entirely different philosophies, both bent on translating the entire Bible into Klingon. They are indeed on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. They are very amusing stories, and this is another one of those browser books that I think you would enjoy picking up, reading a little bit, and putting back down again. Anyway, Floating Off the Page, edited by Ken Wells. And the next book is for all those ambitious people who want to get out and work in the garden. Japanese Gardens in a Weekend, projects for 1, 2, or 3 weekends. Robert Ketchall is a leading designer of Japanese gardens with over 20 years of experience, and he has put together a book that does indeed have some simple projects. The projects are rated according to 1, 2, or 3 weekends. If you want a Japanese touch for your home, this is the book for you. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Kelly Ria will be talking with Ronna Davis about a book for our young adults.
Hi, thanks BJ. Today we've got a really exciting book, and Ronna Davis, the children's, no, you're not children's, you are the young adult librarian at Edmond. You have brought a really good one today, and what's it called?
It's called Define Normal.
And it's by?
It's by Julie Ann Peters.
It is,
yes.
And I looked for it myself, and we do have it in the system. And why is this a good book for teens?
I don't know if it's a good book for all teens, but I think it would tend to give some insight for some teens into the behavior of either themselves or of other people. I think it's the kind of book that in a way teaches tolerance of other people's behavior, because you don't always know what's going on even behind a supposedly perfect exterior. And
I liked the way that the author really put these two different personalities in conflict right at the beginning.
Yes, the author doesn't waste any time. She knows what she's doing. The two main characters are a girl, as you can probably see from the cover, who's kind of punk, I would say. I mean, that's how she defines herself. And another girl who is the one who's supposedly
the straight-laced one.
The straight-laced, normal one. And they are put together in a peer counseling situation in high school, where the straight-laced one is supposed to be supposedly helping the punked out one.
And between them, they define normal.
Maybe if you average them, they may define normal.
But each one of them has their own normalcy that they think is correct, and then by working together.
Well, I think in this peer counseling situation, one of them is told that they're going to help the other one, and vice versa. And that's where the interesting character conflicts come up. But I don't think either one of them at the beginning really thinks that they're really normal. They're just trying to function as normal within their own situations, with their own friends. And for example, the punked out girl, wants to impress her friends with her lack of ambition and her lack of talent, but actually she's a very wonderful musician who in her heart of hearts wants to go to Juilliard and really has a shot at that if she keeps on with her piano.
Excellent. Well, I found that it was really interesting because I couldn't decide which character I most related to. Both of them are exciting and fun, and one has a lot of responsibility. And we really think that your teens will enjoy this book. It's called Define Normal. It's by Julianne Peters, and you can find it at your local library or your favorite bookstore.
Thanks, Kelly and Rana. And coming up next, we have the New York Times bestseller list. I will start with hardback fiction, as I usually do. And number 10 is If Looks Could Kill by Kate White, 1,000 Country Roads by Robert James Waller, Courting Trouble by Liza Scottoline, The Summons by John Grisham, Daddy's Little Girl by Mary Higgins Clark, The Wailing Wind by Tony Hillerman, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones by R.A. Salvatore, The Nanny Diaries by Emma McLaughlin and Nicola Krauss. Number 2 is Mortal Prey by John Sanford, and number 1 is Jean Auel's The Shelters of Stone. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Profiles in Courage for Our Time, edited by Caroline Kennedy, Medal of Honor by Alan McCallan, Find Me by Rosie O'Donnell, American Son by Richard Blow, Lucky Man by Michael J. Fox, Master of the Senate by Robert Caro, Odd Girl Out by Rachel Simmons, Stupid White Men by Michael Moore. Number 2 is The Right Words at the Right Time, edited by Marlo Thomas, and number 1 is Mel Levine's A Mind at a Time. On the children's list, number 10 is Knocked Out by My Noonga Noongas by Louise Renison, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket, The Hostile Hospital by Lemony Snicket, Princess in Love by Meg Cabot, The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket, Junie B. First Grader at Last by Barbara Park, The Bad Beginning, also by Lemony Snicket, Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. Number 2 is Lemony Snicket, The Unauthorized Biography, and number 1 is J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System. He will be talking with Evelyn Davis from the Downtown Library. They have a book they'd really like to share with you.
Thanks, and hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm here with Evelyn Davis. Evelyn, good day.
Good day.
How are you?
Fair to partly crazy. How are you?
Yeah, that's about normal for you, I think. Evelyn is here to discuss Stephen King's latest book, which is a collection of short stories, I think, isn't it?
Correct.
Everything's Eventual. All right. One of the things I admire about King, you're talking about a collection of short stories here, but he does play around in different media. Why does he do that?
I think he does it in an effort to keep the writing fresh, to see if he can get a rise, really, from doing it on, I started to say email, but doing it in a serial form, in an eBay, I started to say eBay there, in a e-book format. And he said, I even tried to do a radio play a la Orson Welles' famous War of the Worlds. And I couldn't do it. That one didn't work.
That one didn't work for him, which is odd because he's known for dialogue, but it's a different structure, I think. He's also written films and he's written for television. Why do you think he goes to such lengths to keep the writing fresh?
He's very clear about that. He does it for the reader. The money just doesn't mean that much, although he's got more than enough of it. He does it for the reader's sake. He does it to keep his hand in. He does it because he wants the reader to be moved.
Now, he says in the introduction to this new book that the short story is sort of a dying form. Personally, I don't agree with that, but he says that, and he believes it. He honestly believes that. So why does he keep going back to the short story every once in a while?
Well, not only to deal with the heart, so to speak, of his readers, but in another attempt to perfect his craft.
Okay. He says that his favorite story among the 14 in here, is called L.T.'s Theory of Pets. What is it about that story that appeals to him? Why does he think that's his favorite? Also for reading aloud, a favorite for reading aloud.
If he has 50 minutes, that's the one he wants to read aloud.
Mm-hmm.
It is a story that moves from the slow breakup of a marriage in a humorous enough way that the audience defenses are down, and then he segues into an ending that is dark and mysterious and inexplicable.
Well, that's what King is best known for, the dark and the mysterious. Evelyn,
Indeed.
thank you for coming on today, discussing Stephen King's Everything is Eventual, 14 Dark Tales. Thank all of you, and we'll see you again soon.
If you spend 15 minutes a day reading to a child, you're doing more than reading. You're building a bond that lasts a lifetime. Hi, I'm Penny McCaleb, Chairman of your Metropolitan Library Commission, and I urge you to read to your children. Not only will they learn to love reading, they will also become better students. Our children's librarians will be happy to help you select just the right book. The next time your child hands you a book, take the time to read. You'll both be glad you did.
With me right now is Ursula Ward. She's from the cataloging department of the Metropolitan Library System. Ursula occasionally visits with some really interesting books that I think a lot of us wouldn't find unless we knew to look for them or ask a librarian. And this first one is Performing Arts Broadcasting. What kind of book is this, Ursula?
It is a book by the Library of Congress.
Oh.
And usually give what they have in their collection. But this book has articles about different things about radio and early television era.
Okay, so instead of just being a catalog, it actually has stories in it. So if somebody was doing some research on, say, the early history of radio, this would be a book to look for. Go right up to your librarian and say, I want that book by the Library of Congress.
Yes.
Then they'll start asking you questions like, what book by the Library of Congress?
Yes. It would be called The Performing Arts, and it's called, the subtitle is Broadcasting. This is the last volume of this series.
Oh, so they've done a whole series of books?
Since 1986, they have different books about the performing arts.
Oh, okay. So there's one about dance and one about
movies.
Mm-hmm. So
play.
It sounds then like it's quite a nice collection. And looking at the interior of this book, there are a lot of photographs in it as well.
There's a lot of photographs about the older and current performers on radio and television, but mostly about the past.
Okay, it does run briefly up to the front, but not very much. Okay, now this seems to be an awful lot about radio. Is there very much about TV in here?
Well, the last 3 or 4 chapters are about the early television era, but most of it is done for the radio.
Okay. Well, I'm looking here. There are a tremendous number of photographs. It looks like they've got, well, I guess the Library of Congress has quite a bit to go through.
Yes. And all of this is about their extensive collection on the subject.
Oh, okay. So really, you could get information here, but it also tells you where you can go to get more information?
Oh, yes. It also, in the editor's note, it has the website you can go to.
Oh, okay.
And it would give you everything about the collection.
So this is a really souped-up catalog, is what you're saying.
But it also has lots of articles about the history.
Okay, great. Now, we've got just a little bit of time, and there was one more book you brought on a rather different subject, World Trade Center Building Performance Study.
I got that this week, and I couldn't resist to bring it here because of the subject matter. And it is really more of a technical book about the FEMA, that is Federal Emergency Management Agency. It gives you about the performance of the building. It gives the study of the World Trade strategy, and also it has pictures in it about the other buildings around the World Trade that were affected by this
So
attack.
anybody who's interested in the physical building and dealing with it immediately after the attack, this is a book for them. Technical, most of us won't be that terribly interested, but okay. I want to thank you, Ursula, for being with us, and thank everybody else for joining us, and I hope you'll be with us again next time.
Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.